Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Outdoor Addictions, where we talk about everything outdoor and real estate related. Keith, how are you this morning?
Man, I'm great. Survived keeping the grandkids for 3 days and had a great time with them.
That's good. Sounds like y'all had a fun time. I heard y'all got trapped in a room or something.
Yeah, we had one of those escapology rooms, and we were actually supposed to be on a train we had 1 hour to find who the killer was. And thankfully, I had my 9 and 10-year-old granddaughters there, and they got us right through it.
Sounds good.
We had 3 minutes left when we got out of the room. I don't know what would happen if we hadn't made it out in 3 minutes, but we survived it, and I'm thankful.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That reminds me of a story I heard this week on another podcast. They talked about turkey hunting. This group of guys wanted to break the record for killing every species of turkeys in the country. You know, what's it called? The Grand Slam?
Yeah.
The 4 species. And so they had this plan. Well, the record was they were going to kill them. I think another group had killed 4, this guy had killed 4 turkeys within 46 hours. So they did it all in 46 hours. So their goal was to break that record. So they had a buddy who had an airplane, and they started out in Alabama. And the time started when they killed the first turkey. And their goal again was to kill 4 turkeys
In less than 46 hours?
in less than 46 hours.
Good.
So they started out in Alabama, and the clock started ticking when they killed the first turkey. Well, they didn't kill that turkey till like mid-morning, like 9:30 in the morning. Jumped on the plane, went to Florida, killed one that day. Got on the plane, went to Kansas, spent the night, got up early the next day, killed one in Kansas, and then got on the plane and went to North Dakota, killed one there. And they broke the record with 8 minutes to spare. 45 minutes and, 45 hours and I think 52 minutes. So they broke the record with 8 minutes to spare.
And they slept for the next 6 days.
I mean, I may go the whole season without killing a darn turkey. And
So far, we've gone the season without hearing a turkey.
we've been turkey hunting, but hopefully that's going to change, dadgummit, because we just found ourselves a hot spot.
Got a plan.
Got a plan, man. I was on a piece of ground. Don't tell anybody. I was on a piece of ground yesterday that was covered up with turkey sign. The most I think I have ever seen. Now, we may get over there and get skunked again, but I'm going to tell you, I'm looking forward to riding over there and getting out on that piece of ground.
Could have been just one nervous turkey walking back and forth.
Probably got some issues or something. That's all right. You know, as long as he'll gobble, we'll at least hear it.
At least we'll hear something. Yeah,
we've been several times. We ain't heard one gobble. And okay, Nona, see you later. That's Nona. She's in her office here, and she's one of our agents. She's leaving. We always yell back and forth.
Speaking of nervous birds.
So anyway, yeah, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully, we're gonna get over and go hunt this weekend. I'm hoping. So anyway, all right, we're gonna jump right into our topic today, which is best ways to improve your property before selling it. And Keith, we've talked about a little of this before in the past, but in my opinion, you can't talk about this enough. We need to revisit it. And there's a couple of ideas that we really hadn't discussed in the past. So,
Yeah, and hopefully we've got some new listeners out there too.
Yeah, I think
that haven't heard it.
Yeah, that's right. So we're looking forward to sharing this information. Again, we're licensed realtors. We're licensed in Mississippi and Louisiana, and we are with United Country McDaniel-Gray Realty, located in Brookhaven, Mississippi, but we cover all of Mississippi and Louisiana. So if you're wanting to sell your property, we can help you. If you want to buy a piece of ground or a home, or whatever it may be, we can help you there as well. But we want to talk a little bit about ways to improve your property before you sell it. And we'll just jump right into this, Keith. The first one is forestry mulching. So, you know, that can be a little bit of an expensive way to go. and I guess it depends on how much you want done. You can really get a lot done in a half day or a day's work.
Yeah, and usually people that have these machines, they've got a minimum
Yeah, they got a
of
minimum
what
they're charged.
they're going to charge,
And I've used them before. I've hired them before to come out, and I think the minimum is about $500. At least it was for me with this individual. And but basically, he just said, I said, how much is it going to cost you to do what I want done? He said, look, I can do that for $500. So I just paid him a flat fee, and he stayed longer than just half a day. He started about 8 in the morning and finished up about 3 in the afternoon. But I'm telling you, it was amazing how that property transitioned, just that from 8 to 3 in the day, how much he got done. And I'm telling you, it's just instantaneous. You can see the improvements, which will last for years. All you got to do now is just maintain what is done. And so forestry mulching is a great way to improve your property. And again, let me just paint the picture for you. Let's say you're a seller and you own, I don't know, 20 acres or 200 acres, 2,000 acres, whatever it may be. On every tract of land, there are probably several potential home sites or campsites, right? And out of those several, there are probably 1 or 2 that are really good. Based on location, it's usually fairly close to the main road where you may have access to water and power. Yet it's far enough off the road where it's private, it's not real visible from the highway.
I guarantee you, if you own that land, you've had times you've walked over a particular spot and say, if I ever built a house, right here is where I would put it.
That's right. And it's just, it's usually a place that you already are aware of. And again, we're looking at it from the perspective of a seller. So now you've reached a point in your life where you want to sell this property. And let's be honest, most sellers want to get the most money they possibly can for the place. So there are several different ways to sell your place. One of them is just sell it as is, right? Just don't do a thing to it. Put it on the market, get with a realtor, they'll help you arrive at a price, and put it out there for sale. And you're typically going to get what fair market value is in most cases. And again, most buyers they're going to want to know what the average tract of land sells for in your area. So let's say there's no improvements done to it. They're likely going to give you just the bare minimum it takes to buy the property.
Right.
That's what you can expect as a seller to get.
If you're a seller, you need to put yourself in the shoes of a potential buyer.
That's right.
And if you walk out there, just try to look at it like you've never been on the property before, and walk out there and look at it and say, okay, what's going to be a positive for any potential buyers?
That's right.
What's going to be a negative?
That's right. But if you're a seller and you want to maximize the amount of money you get for your place, and most people do, it's like that old saying, you may have to spend a little money to make money. Well, that's what we're talking about today, is ways that you can spend a little bit of money that will more than pay for itself. And quite often you'll get much more in return than what it costs you to do this if you do it wisely. Forestry mulching is just one way. And again, what you're trying to do is paint a picture to a buyer. Hey, you need to consider my property versus a competing property just down the road. Because let's say you own 20 acres you're trying to sell. If I'm a buyer, I'm looking at every 20 to 40 acre tract in the area. I'm looking at all, I'm not looking at just one. I'm looking at all of them. And I'm trying to weigh which one do I want to try to buy. And the same is true if it's 200 acres or it's 2,000 acres. If I'm a buyer, if I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to look at everything, right? I'm going to look at what's available and then make a decision based upon that.
That's a big investment, and a lot of times it might be the first big investment that a young couple has made in their life, looking for a home site.
That's right.
And they're going to want everything they can get out of that property.
That's right.
And they've got a vision of what they want.
So what we're going to be talking about today is ideas or tips that you can do to help improve your property so that it stands out from the other properties on the market. And in essence, you get more money. People will pay more money for what's available. They just will. And especially if they fall in love with it, right, Keith? And we've all done that as a buyer. You drive down the driveway, when you get on this place, and it's just something about it that you just love. You're like, man, this is it. You talk to your wife, you talk to your husband, you're like, this is what we've been looking for. Let's buy it. And that's what you want. You want that experience to come up.
I've
when a
had
buyer
buyers
comes on
with
your
me
property.
walk them out on a property that they just, when it's like you turned to walk around a corner and it opened up in front of them, they said, "Oh, I want this."
Right. It's a way for it to stand out. So forestry mulching is a great way. And again, we're not talking about doing clearing the whole piece of ground. We're talking about just around that potential home or campsite.
On site and a path to it.
And a way to get to it, a way to get in and out without stepping on a snake and that kind of thing, where the family and the kids and grandkids feel comfortable walking or driving down and not afraid with limbs slapping you in the face and that kind of thing.
If you got to walk, if a potential buyer has to walk through thick underbrush to get to it, they can't envision what they can't see.
That's right, exactly. So forestry mulching is a great way. Another tip is to thin your timber. Contact a forester or a logger, and especially if you have a good standing timber, it might benefit you to cut some of your timber, and that way you get some income off that before you sell your place. I get asked this question all the time. People get ready to sell their land. They ask me, should I sell my timber first before I sell the land? Or should I just keep the timber on it and sell the land together? Well, that's up to you as the seller. That really is up to you. But in my opinion, you can have a little bit of both. You can sell some of your timber, and I wouldn't necessarily consider selling all of it unless it's old enough where you really can maximize your money by clear cutting it. And that's okay, because you make enough money on your timber to where you can sell it, and now you're taking a little bit less money per acre when you sell the property. But you can get the best of both worlds in the sense of you can sell some of the timber, which opens up that canopy. You're leaving several trees there, and so open up that canopy, allowing that sunlight to reach the ground. And so what you're doing is you've just opened up your property, especially around a home site or a campsite, where a potential buyer can now see the gentle rolling hills, and they can envision their house or their camp sitting right there in that spot. And so thinning the timber is not a bad idea. If you get ready to sell your place, you might want to thin the timber, generate some income off that, then put your property on the market. The price per acre may go down a little bit, but it really won't go down much because you just provided a really good atmosphere for a potential home site.
Right. When you thin that timber, and you might thin the timber before you consider the mulcher.
Exactly.
You get a mulcher in there and clear up some of the debris from the thinning, because there's always a lot of debris left over.
That's right.
And it can be a pain to get around and over and walk, tripping up, walking through on that. But clean some of that up. You don't have to hit it hard. Just get a minimum time in there and get your path cleared back to where a potential home site may be, or a campsite if somebody's looking for hunting property. Get it cleaned up and ready.
Mm-hmm. It makes a difference. Another tip is to use prescribed fire. And this has been on my heart and mind for several weeks now. I recently went to a class and got certified as a certified burn manager. So I am now certified, Keith, to be able to set something on fire.
You've been certifiable for years.
True. But now it's legal, dadgummit. I can do it. But no, I've learned a lot from that class, and prescribed fire is by far the most cost-effective and most effective way to manage habitat for wildlife and to make your property more appealing. It really is. I know it doesn't look great when it's first been burned, but fast forward 2 to 3, 4 weeks later, it's going to be just as green and pretty.
It does not take long.
It doesn't take long.
During the springtime, when everything's greening up in a way, you get these spring rains on it.
That's right. Another thing to consider with prescribed fire is, again, if you own a piece of ground and you want to sell it, it's best used for recreational use. It's best used for timber investment property. It's best used for for hunting, recreational property. Prescribed fire means a lot to a potential buyer. And let me paint this picture. If I'm a buyer and my objective is to buy a piece of ground and I want to grow the biggest bucks I can, I want to provide the best habitat for white-tailed deer, for turkey, for other game species, there is no better place than a place that's been burned. So if I'm a buyer and I come onto a piece of ground and I see where the property has recently been burned, maybe not last week, I'm talking about last year or even 2 years ago, it paints a picture to me as a buyer. Look, this landowner has taken the right steps. They have run a fire through this before, and maybe they did it just recently, and that helped. If I'm a buyer and that's my goal is to, and you're buying something to hunt on, that's why you're buying it. You want you and your family and friends to go out there and have a good time hunting. Then seeing that fire running through the property is a great thing. It paints the picture. This landowner understands. They get it.
They care about their property.
That's right.
Because if you just let it go and it grows up so thick, and you're not doing the wildlife any good. You're not doing the timber any good, because you're getting that understory growth that's stealing nutrients and
a lot of times
from the trees.
That's right. And a lot of times the canopy closes and it reaches a point where nothing grows underneath the trees. It's just open. We've all been on this. Matter of fact, the vast majority of tracts of land that we're on, it's just what's called a biological desert, meaning there is nothing on the ground for wildlife. The canopy's closed. There's not even any briars or anything, because the sunlight cannot reach the ground. So it's just
sunlight, no life.
Right. So the key is to let that sunlight reach the ground. If you thin your timber, you allow that sunlight to reach the ground, and then a year later you run a fire through it. Ooh, and by running a fire through it, Keith, you kind of eliminated. We talked about you could get a forestry mulcher in there, and you could do that, but the fire will help burn up a lot of that debris, right?
Yeah, a lot of those trash trees, your sapgum and things like that, to get in there and grow quick in the understory, and those get up and grow fast, and they'll choke out even more sunlight to get up.
So running the fire
through it, it will kill them at a fairly young age. And
if you do it during a certain time, if you do it during a growing season, like midsummer, that's really going to knock back those sweet gum and some undesirable trees. If you burn it during the like this time of year, it's early spring, you're not necessarily going to kill those trees, but it will help. It will certainly help. So just keep that in mind. So prescribed fire is a great way to improve your property, and it paints a picture that you care and that a buyer sees value in it. The right buyer sees value in it. All right, the next step is to install a gravel driveway and put a culvert in. And let me paint this picture, Keith. You buy a piece of ground, or let's say you own a piece of ground, you want to sell it, and it's been in your family for many years, but there is no road on it. We see a lot of those tracts, right, where it just has good road frontage, but there's no road. There's not even an old logging road on it. Well, the truth is, you as a landowner can call your county or parish, and a lot of times they'll put a culvert in for free. You may have to establish a 911 address, but you can do that. Go to your courthouse and establish one, pay a little fee, get it established. They come out, dig the ditch out, put a culvert in, and all you got to do is get a load or two of gravel and put on it. Just by doing that, you just provided a potential access to that property. And again, there's no road leading into the property, not yet, but at least the buyer knows, if I buy this place, it's already got a culvert, it's covered in gravel recently. So even if you built just a little short driveway that extends 20 yards or so into the timber, where you can pull a vehicle up in there.
A lot of properties where you may want to go in, there might be a ditch there.
That's right.
And you can research what size culvert you could get put in there. But most times your county, if they're going to help you do it, they'll
do it
provide
themselves,
the culvert as well, because it's beneficial to the county.
That's right.
As well as you.
That's right. So they'll come do it for you, and in most cases, now if you want to pay for it, that's up to you. If you want to put it, putting the culvert down on your property, if it's a creek, a little branch that crosses the road and it washes out real bad in that spot, maybe invest the money there to put a culvert in. Maybe it's an existing road that's already there, and again, by putting that culvert across that little wet spot, you eliminate that wet spot, right?
Right.
And there's no matter what property you have, there's always one or two wet spots on the road. Certain times of year, wintertime, springtime, that kind of thing. So spend a little money, put it out there. Now it adds value to a place. If I'm riding down a logging road and I come up on a spot where there's a new gravel space there with a culvert underneath, That tells me, look, the seller's taking the time to go do that. The water is flowing naturally and it's not tearing up the road. So that adds value to the property. It's one less thing a buyer has to worry about. One less thing. And that adds value. And it makes your property more attractive than another one down the road.
Yeah, when you got a buyer, I mean, I guarantee you, you're thinking about everything you can do to sell the property. They're thinking about what it's going to take after they buy the property.
That's right.
And they will say, well, I'm going to have to cut this road back in here. I'm going to have to drop me a culvert in here because this is mighty low. It's mighty wet right in here. These are things that you and I have heard when we're taking potential buyers out of the property time and again. And a lot of times those things will keep that particular person from buying that property.
I know. Yeah, you're exactly right. And also, we talked about this earlier that, when you talk to a seller about spending money, they want to sell the place. They're at a point in their life they want to sell it. They're not interested in spending money in some cases. But if I could show you as a seller that if you spend $2,000 and you get $8,000 in return, it's a no-brainer, right? So if you give me $2,000 and I give you $8,000 2 months from now or down the road, it's a no-brainer, right?
You make $8,000 more on a $2,000 investment.
That's exactly right.
Stock market will take that off.
It's a good investment, and it's a safe investment. Putting money into your property so that it sells better at a better price is always a good idea. Now, you got to have the money up front to go do that. I get that. And some families may not have that. I understand that. And if that's the case, then you probably do just want to put it on the market as is and sell it. But most of us have a little bit of income we can probably invest on a piece of ground to get more return out of it. And that's what we're talking about, is some of those things. Another tip is to hang a gate. Now, the cost of gates have gone up. I priced them recently because I own a piece of land and I want to put a couple of gates up. They used to be about $75 for like a, 10, 12-foot gate. They've gone up. They're about $175 now. It's like everything else. But you can buy one at Tractor Supply. That's just a good example. For about $175 to $200 for a good gate, a good aluminum gate. By putting a gate, just by hanging a new gate on the entrance will make a huge difference. And we've talked about this before in the past. Buy a gate, put your little chain around it, and go to Walmart and buy you a lock, just a master lock. Just put a new lock on it. That gives the impression the property is secure. They see buyers see that new gate, and they can tell it's brand new. Just came off the lot at Tractor Supply, right? And you hung it up a month ago. It gives the impression that it's new, it's secure, it's safe. Man, I think I want to buy this place. And all you've done is spent a little bit of money, putting a culvert down, put a little load of gravel, and hanging the gate. You just dressed it up, make it look nice. And those things make a difference.
You've got the entrance to the property established.
That's it. It makes a difference. And if you did that at every entrance, you're really going to help. But again, it's more money. So, because quite often you have more than one entrance on a piece of ground. But again, just look at the main one. That's where the main access in and out. Spend your money there, and you'll get your money back, and then some. The next tip is to plant some flowers. And I know that probably sounds a little bit ridiculous to say, Keith, when you're talking about tracts of land. Obviously, we know landscaping is very important when you sell home. When you sell homes, whether it's in the country or in town, your landscaping is very important. And so by planting flowers, especially this time of year in the spring, it will help with a home sale. The same is true for a tract of land. And we're not talking about going to Home Depot and spending $200 on potted flowers and putting it on a piece of land. We're talking about just sowing some seed, some wildflower seed, to where now those little wildflowers will just grow. In a month's time, by midsummer, they're 10, 12 inches tall and just beautiful.
Right, and if you go in there and do some burning or forestry mulching, and then you're going to have natural forbs, which are
going to come up by themselves.
Are things that wildlife eat off of anyway. That's what they're looking for more than a planted food plot. They're going to live on those forbs more than they will. And then you throw in you can go to Walmart or various other places, any feed and seed store.
Yeah.
And they'll sell wildflower mixes that you can get that.
Well, you
that
can
are
also
made
buy
just for this.
a food plot mix, that little summer mix, which will have
Yeah.
some blooming flowers. But
Yeah.
anything to add some color. And again, we don't realize it, but as buyers, we see things all the time that elevate our attention. I'm not thinking of the correct word, but you know what I mean? It catches our attention. Blooming flowers is one of them. When you, and we've all done it. You're walking down the road and you round the corner and it opens up in this beautiful meadow, right? Real pretty green grass, wildflowers blooming, and you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty. You don't even know why you like it.
If you
It
clear
just
out
is
a home
beautiful.
site and you walk around there and it's, even if it's just ring surrounded by flowers, you know,
That's right.
it's gonna catch your eye.
That's right.
Especially if that potential buyer has got the family with him and the wife and kids and they walk around and see it.
It can make all the difference in the world. And we're not talking about doing this on all 200 acres of your property.
No.
We're talking about one particular, like you said earlier, there's always one or two home sites on a piece of ground or campsites. Focus your attention there. Maybe just buy some seed and literally just take your hand and broadcast it. Just sow it right on the side of the road, up on the little hillside where it gets some sunlight, where you just had the timber thinned or had a forestry mulcher or you just ran a fire through there.
You think about this time of year when you're riding down the road, and what's the first thing you start seeing popping up along the side of the road? Oh, these yellow jonquils.
Yep, that's right.
And they're gonna catch your eye.
They
I don't
definitely.
know whether you care anything about flowers or not, they're gonna catch your eye.
Yeah, and you're probably going to think, like me, you're going to think back when you were a child and those things growing out in the yard. And I have fond memories of playing outside. And they usually sprout up when it's still cold outside.
Yeah.
Those are the first things that sprout up. But yeah, it's amazing to me how we see this turkey hunting. You know, one day you go turkey hunting and it's like everything is brown and still wintry looking. And then it seems like in a matter of a week, everything's just green and beautiful and blooming. You're like, wow, it's amazing how nature just transitions in a short period of time. And those things catch your eye. And a lot of people look at land and homes, what time of the year? The spring of the year. They enjoy getting out and going looking at property. I will tell you, one of the best times to sell a piece of hunting ground is in the spring and summer, prior to when hunting season rolls around. When hunting season rolls around, hunters are focused on hunting. That's not to say they won't buy a piece of ground during hunting season, but quite often they want to buy it in the spring and the summer so that they can hunt on it in the fall.
And in the springtime, you've got the hunters have been hunting for the most part. If the rest of the family aren't that involved in hunting, they've been cooped up in the house all winter, and they're getting out, and that's when they're going to start searching. So,
That's exactly right.
Maybe we need to find us a place, and they're out and active.
On that same token, instead of planting flowers, if you put your property on the market, say in late summer, early fall, you can get the same results from just sowing a little food plot. And again, you don't have to disc up a huge piece of ground and hair it and all that stuff. And all that costs money. We're talking about just getting some food plot seed and just sowing it on the side of the road, up in the timber stand where it gets some sunlight, especially if you've run a fire through it. Do that. And it'll just grow and just be green and pretty, right? It adds color in the fall of the year when all the leaves have fallen, all the leaves are off and everything's drab. That green color just pops out there on the landscape, and it catches your attention as a buyer. So if I'm a recreational hunter, if I'm looking for a piece of ground to put a campsite, what would it be like if I rode around the corner and this opens up in this beautiful, gentle rolling hills with this green grass growing in between the trees? It just paints a good picture. It's a soothing, comforting, and people will say, I can envision my home or my hunting camp being right here. That's what you want. And quite often, that's what sells the property. It's not the pretty creek on the backside of the place. That's nice, but you got to go out of your way to get to that, right? Your family probably won't see that as much as you will as a hunter, but your family's going to see that home site every time they go in there. And quite often that's what sells a piece of ground. Another tip you can do is you can dig a water well. And again, now we're talking about spending a little more money, right? But having utilities on the property, in the same token, not only digging a water well, but getting electricity. If you dig a well, you're going to need to get power to it, so the well will be able to operate. So go ahead and run electricity and dig a well on your property. If there's community water along the road, maybe run a line out to that potential home site. And again, you're not plumbing someone's house. You're not doing all that. You're just simply getting water and electricity to the site itself. And it costs a little bit of money to do that, a little bit of effort to do it.
But
Man,
it's going to
pay.
add value to
Oh.
that property when that potential home buyer or land buyer comes in and sees it and says, okay, here's a pretty home site. It's already got electricity and water to it.
Yep.
All I've got to do is get my builder in here and
just build and
get
attach in what's there. Not only that, it's a great tool for advertising property because we as realtors can advertise. And believe me, we're going to push it. We're going to make a point to say this property has utilities in place, a new water well, electricity's just been run to it. So that's a good advertising tool.
that's one of the first things they're going to ask you about it when they call about buying a property.
Yep.
Has it got water on it? Has it got electricity on it? Well, a lot of times you can't say it. It's available.
It's
What
available
it's
on the road.
available mean? It's at the road.
It's at the road. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine
No,
too.
no.
And that's a good thing because there are properties that don't even have power or water along the road. There are some that are so remote where that's not even a possibility. So again, we're talking about ways for you, the seller, to make your property more attractive to a buyer. And this is a great way to do that. So if your land's in an area where there is no community water along the road, or maybe there's power, but there's power way up the road, getting power run to it, getting it on your property, getting that water well on your property, now that buyer will say, well, yeah, I'm interested because this property checks more than one box. Number one, I'm buying a piece of ground that's remote, which is what I want. I want to be away from everybody else, but I sure would like to have electricity and water on the place too. Well, they have that too. So now instead of asking $3,000 an acre, maybe you ask $4,000 an acre. I'm just using round numbers. But my point is you're spending a little bit of money, but you're getting so much more in return on the back end.
It's
That
going to
it
add
more than
value to
pays
your
for it.
product.
That's right. Makes your property a lot more attractive. And again, if I'm a buyer, I'm going to look at everything that's available. And you'd be surprised, people choose a property over another. It may not be because of price. It may be because, well, that one has utilities and this one didn't. Or it may be that that one just looks so much better than this one. And all you've done is sow some flowers. Think about it. You've just painted a good picture. And for whatever reason, once that buyer gets in their mind that's what they want, that's a good thing. They feel good about it and they're willing to pay a little more money to get it because it's worth it to them. That feeling is worth having. All right, the last thing is to pour a concrete slab. This is true for any property. Again, you may say, well, how in the world is that going to make my property more valuable? A concrete slab, be poured big enough to where it's big enough for an RV to be parked there. It's big enough for a potential mobile home to be set on top of. And Keith brought up a good point earlier. It didn't have to be a concrete slab. It could be just a big gravel pad.
Just put a gravel pad down and
just have it elevated.
Have it good and packed and elevated above the area, and you could do the same thing with a trailer, mobile home, or RV.
That's right. And I've even seen situations where sellers are selling a piece of recreational property for hunting. They may go in and pour just a small concrete pad and put up a little skinning shed. Just have it right there. And how cool would it be if you got power for lights, electricity? Got power for lights and for have a well dug. We got running water, and all you have is a little skinning shed. That's it. But how helpful would that be if you go hunt on the property and you kill a deer? Well, now you got a place to skin it. Got running water. You got electricity. You got lights. You can see at night when you're out there skinning that deer at 10 o'clock at night, right?
Right.
That adds value. It's convenience, and people will pay for that. So just building a little skinning shed on the property. No house or anything. Just you got water on it. You got electricity. And by the way, I even fix you a place where you can skin a deer at night. Adds value. Makes it more attractive.
Makes it more attractive, and at the same time, it adds value to your property. Every little thing that you can do along the lines of what we've talked about here can add potential money to that per acre
That's right.
value of your property.
So again, before we close today, I just want you to know that these are some things you can do to improve your property. If you're listening, you have questions, you can call us, email us. Keith, tell folks again your name and your phone number.
I'm Keith Kavitz with McDaniel-Gray Realty in Brookhaven, Mississippi. And my phone number is 601-201-4048.
And my name is Bruce Gray. I'm also with McDaniel-Gray Realty. My cell phone number is 601-754-5592. And before we go today, I'm going to mention a property that I looked at yesterday. This is a tract of land that our office has listed for sale. And I'm going to share some information with you about it. I was on it yesterday for the first time. I was actually driving by the property and decided I'd just stop. It's such a pretty day. So I got out there yesterday afternoon and walked it. It's 171 acres in Amite County, Mississippi. It's on Berwick Castles Road. Yeah, so if you're familiar with Southwest Mississippi, you probably recognize that road. That's a good area for hunting out there. It's one of the best tracts of land that I'm aware of that offers really good potential hunting.
Not far from Gloucester.
Yeah, it's not far from Gloucester, Mississippi, not terribly far from Liberty. But it's probably close. I'd say it's 15-minute drive to Gloucester, so it's pretty close to Gloucester. The property offers a good stand of pine timber. It'd be a great property for someone to purchase, go in there and thin that timber, let that sunlight reach the ground, run a prescribed fire through that. Ooh, you could just take your place to the next level just by doing those things right there. Thinning the timber, running that fire through it. You're making money when you thin the timber, and running the fire through it is the cheapest thing you can do to enhance the habitat on your property. The hunting, I'm quite sure is pretty dadgum good because I saw all kinds of sign. Tracks, turkey, deer. It's in a good area. It's surrounded by other large tracts of land. You can't go wrong with this place.
A quick disclaimer here. We've talked about running fires through your property. Only do that under supervision of somebody that's qualified to take care of stuff like that
Yeah.
for you.
Well,
Talk to your county foresters.
Yeah, that's true.
And they can tell you anybody. They may be able to help you burn it.
Yeah,
If
they
not,
can.
they can point you in the direction of someone that can guide you. Don't just go out there and throw a match out.
No,
try
you
to
want
burn
to do it the
yourself.
right way. And the state of Mississippi is perfectly legal for a landowner to burn on their own place. You can do that. I learned that through that prescribed fire class I took. But you can also be held liable if that fire destroys someone's house or shed or timber or whatever. So Keith's right. You want to take the right precautions. It is legal for you to burn, but you need to do it the right way. So what I would do is contact someone who is a prescribed burn manager, get them to help you, offer to pay them a little something. They can help oversee the project, or you can contact your county, Mississippi Forestry Association, your county forestry association. They can put you in contact with the forestry association, who will come out and burn for you for a small fee. It's about $30, $25 to $30 an acre to burn it. And quite often that includes putting a road rail, like a fire lane around it. So it's a very minimal cost for what you get in return.
I mean,
and they come burn it for you.
It would be worth the cost if it's $20, $30 an acre, just for them cutting that fire lane around your property.
Just putting that fire lane. And then once it's established, it's up to you to maintain it. But think about it. Was that bush hogging it once a year? It wouldn't take much to maintain that fire lane. So, again, 171 acres, Amite County, Mississippi, pine timber. There's actually 2 ponds on the property, and there's a really good road system. Matter of fact, the owner just recently hired a gentleman with a bulldozer to go in and push those roads out. He actually puts the roads out to each. There's 2 ponds, so there's a road now going to each pond, and some of the timber's been pushed away from the pond on one end, so you can walk up to it and cast out into the pond if you want to. Good interior road system. You can drive your pickup all the way through that place. Super nice piece of ground. And 171 acres, Berwick Castles Road. Call us and we'll give you a private tour of it. Be glad to show it to you. So, all right. I reckon that's it. What you think?
Let's close her down.
Until next time, stay addicted.
to the outdoors.